Welcome, fellas. Welcome back to another episode of Real Talk by Merger 100 in North Metro Atlanta. I'm your host, Benji. I'm Benjamin Tomlinson, the Secretary Director of Programs. This is my wonderful co-host here.
Tracel Yilla, I am the treasurer.
Let's get into it, man. We actually have a special episode. Our guests are actually our fellow brothers. So we actually decided to, reach inward so that we can actually talk about money, finance, wealth, anything, you name it. So we're going to have a really good conversation just talking about money. It's Financial Literacy Month, as you all know. And yeah, man, let's go around the room as we usually do, Well, let's go ahead and get into it. Then we got Mr. Christopher Reed right next to us. As you go around the room, if y'all don't mind introducing yourself, what do you do? And if it relates to finance, kind of incorporate how you operate in the finance industry.
Sure. Thank you guys for that segue. So my name is Christopher Reed. I am a commercial real estate appraiser. I've been a little under 2 years now. So as I say, I'm kind of, a rookie in the whole real estate game, but I'm still learning. So every day I'm literally learning knowledge, I'm getting skills, and real estate is something that touches every industry. So I'll get into that a little more later on, but that's my career and that's what I do.
Okay, clap
Over
it up.
here, man. You got to clap it up for Brother Chris right there. Clap it up. Next up, Mr. Ruben. Who you got?
How y'all doing? I'm Ruben Jennings, and I'm currently a commercial accounts underwriter. Been in the insurance industry for about 15 years as claims adjuster. We made the transition about a year ago. In my role with E100, I am the fundraising and sponsorship chair, and pretty much it's all about building relationships and just enjoying the process and learning as I go.
Okay, thank you for that.
Clap
Clap it up.
Mr. Ruben, man.
Come on.
All right, the OG, man. Mr. Julian, why don't you go and introduce yourself to the world?
Sure. Thanks, guys, for having me. I'm Julian Pouncey. I'm a financial planner. I've been in the business for about, I think it's my 27th year. They sort of run together once you get past 15. But yeah, I've been doing this for 15 years. What I try to do with my clients is I try to help them to strengthen their balance sheets and also to help them to grow, protect, and ultimately pass on their money in a most tax efficient way, and also have some fun spending it, during their lifetime as well. So do that in a number of different ways. Do a lot of seminars, educational seminars. I try to guide people towards moving away from being consumer minded and more towards asset minded. And 100 Black Man, I think this is my 18th year with the 100, and I've held a number of positions. I think I've held almost all the positions: president, vice president, membership chair, mentor, coach, all that good stuff.
Shoot, we should ask him what he didn't do.
Right, that's what we should have asked him.
Don't do diapers.
I want to do an interjector, a quick question here, and I'm going to start with Julian and we'll go backwards. I wanted to ask, how did you get to where you are now in this industry? What's the story that led up to that?
It's a process. My background is engineering. I majored in engineering and engineering management. I ended up in insurance. I've done a number of different things. Insurance, I was a group disability and life underwriter. Got bored with that, wanted to go onto the sales side. There were no opportunities. So I was approached by Merrill Lynch back in the day, and I took the phone call, and the rest is history. I always had a sincere interest in money, how money works. And it's one thing about this, being a financial advisor, you don't get bored. You do not get bored.
Got you. Okay. And Ruben, what about you, man? What got you into the commercial underwriting?
For me, I was a claims adjuster for a while, working on cars, running body shops in the Atlanta area, in Vermont and New Hampshire, and then went to be a property adjuster, working on houses and working on the rebuild part. So that was kind of back end. So pretty much I was more interested in the front end, bringing the business in and assessing the risk. So that's how I kind of got into the underwriting side. And now now pretty much assessing the risks that I was out there out in the field writing. So it's just kind of full circle, kind of learning the full aspects of the career.
Got it. And Christopher, man, what got you into real estate appraisals?
That's a great question. So during our content day, I touched a little about that, about how I got into it, but I'll give the short story. I wanted to do real estate prior to college. I just did not want to become an agent or a broker. I thought those were run of the mill.
Yeah,
everybody's doing that.
Everybody's doing it. Yeah,
right, exactly. Now, trying to be different. So went to school to be a cruise ship captain. I graduated during 2020, and the cruise ship industry was the first to shut down. So I said, okay, let me try to get back into real estate. So I found appraising almost by random chance. My wonderful fiance actually passed that to me and signed up, got a scholarship, did the courses, and here I am now. It was probably one of the best decisions I could make because appraisal touches everything in real estate. Agents, brokers, investing, you name it, we do it. And it's just a wonderful career, and I hope to grow in it for the next 20, 25 years like you guys have been doing. So
you're trying to get like Julian.
That's what I'm saying.
That experience, man.
That's the goal.
I want to go back real quick. You said a cruise. How did that happen?
He showed me around the ship. He told me what he does. He said that basically my job is a permanent vacation. I'm like, oh, you have me at permanent vacation. So that's all I need to hear. And my dad was like, okay, I'm not sure about that. How much did they make? And the guy goes, man, to my dad, when I first started, I started off in the mid six figures. My dad said, son, cruise ship captain it is. Go on and do it. right. So yeah, that's how I got into it, and yeah, that was the story.
Gotcha.
Okay. I guess that kind of leads us into an interesting segue, right? So with you guys working in the financial industry, what were certain things you had to overcome as a Black person when it comes to how in the Black community we like to use our finance that you had to kind of overwrite in your mind as you became professionals?
It's a great question.
Yeah.
I mean, especially Chris, you said you had to go through career changes,
Yeah.
right? That's a lot of financial fears that may pop up, not being in between careers. So, like, how did you overcome those fears?
Ooh, that's a wonderful question. So that goes to one of the questions, what's my biggest fear? At the time, it was unexpected emergencies. A job, I had income coming in. So I said, okay, something happens, what am I going to do? So actually, when I was in college, I was doing a lot of, Ubering and DoorDash and, get some money on the side.
Yeah.
And one of my trips, I got bit by a dog was actually to my waist. And it took a chunk off of my leg. And I had to get rabies shots in the emergency room. You guys know what happens when you go to the hospital to emergency room. When that bill comes back.
That bill comes crazy.
Hey.
It ain't pretty. It's not pretty. So luckily, I've been saving since I was 12 years old. Any birthday money, any kind of money that came in, I saved it, never touched it. When you're a kid, I mean, what do you got to really buy? I mean, a pair of shoes? I mean, you're not really buying a whole lot. So everything I have, I saved it. And then luckily, I could foot that bill. And I guess that fear was kind of quelled. So yeah, my biggest thing was, I guess, emergencies, but having that savings in the background was extremely helpful for me.
Got it. Know how to save, man. That's a skill right there.
Most definitely.
Mm-hmm.
What else do y'all have? Like just something that you may have learned or even had to unlearn specifically in your years.
I'm interested to see what Julian has to say about this topic.
Right.
Well, the fear portion is overcoming. You got to understand. Most of us. I'm older than you, so I will amend my normal statement. Is that
you sure, man? Are you sure?
Yeah,
positive?
I'm pretty sure.
Hey, my back hurts when I wake up in the morning, so I feel pretty.
That's because you need a new mattress. But for the most part, most African they are a generation or a generation and a half out of sharecropping. And we inherited that sense of scarcity that was passed down. So oftentimes that's one of the biggest things to overcome when you're talking to people about financial planning and usability of monies. That's the common denominator. I mean, the Black community is not monolithic. We are comprised of so many different people's outcomes, opinions, but that's one thing that's been carried down through the generations: scarcity mindset. And
from sharecropping.
yeah, I bet you at least one of you on here, I bet your grandparents, somebody, a grand uncle or something like that, it's probably, unless you're from the north, they probably were involved in some type of sharecropping.
No, I could definitely speak to that. I mean, so I'm first generation Jamaican, and even though my family comes from the Caribbean, my grandfather, who I was named after, he was a farmer, and all he would do, he would sell our crops and his produce. He would ride on a donkey on the top of the mountain to the bottom of the mountain and just sell his food at the market. That's how our family made money, and that was really it. You know, grandma was just at home looking after the kids. that was a typical day. And then lo and behold,
money is new to us. For the most part, we got a lot of first and second generation college graduates. Like, and here in Metro Atlanta, we got a lot of African Americans, W-2s, doing quite well from a W-2 standpoint. Right. But there was a study that came out from the Urban League about a year and a half ago, and it found that the wealth gap in Atlanta is the largest of any city in the United States.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
Yeah. See, people always talk about Atlanta being the Mecca.
You're right.
But the numbers, see, one thing about numbers, they don't lie.
They don't.
Numbers don't lie. People lie, but numbers don't lie.
Most definitely.
They don't. I'm glad you brought up some data. We're gonna get into some data and some trends in a little bit. That's a good point.
Most definitely. So, like, I had a question to transition. So I know, Ruben, I know you are not really old, but you kind of is that bridge. So, like, you're not fully old school. You can recognize what Julian's saying, but you also.
So you're saying I'm old?
I'm saying you're well seasoned. You're well seasoned.
I like that word. Seasoned.
Hey, flip the chicken over and season both sides.
Didn't he?
You seasoned, man.
Hey, you're well seasoned. All I know is if you walk outside and see somebody dressed a certain way, you're definitely not going to be appreciative. But Ruben, with you being a person that kind of grew up in the middle of both generations and being able to see how, like, both sides of the spectrum, how have you been able to, like, deal with your financial aspects of life?
I would say for me, realistically, is stuff like this right here. Just getting educated, talking to people more experienced than you, and not being afraid to say that you don't know, and being able to listen to your family members and your friends, and kind of just kind of research and kind of take risk as you go. One of my mentors told me, I thought it was his quote, but it wasn't. I guess it came from the military, but he said, "Get comfortable being uncomfortable," pretty much. So when you take on a new task or a new position or anything like that, don't go into it blind, but just be comfortable. Just be ready for whatever comes your way, pretty much. So that was an important aspect for me, at least, and it's paid off huge for me, at least. And just so I've always carried that same attitude. Just be willing to listen and learn.
Gotcha.
Right. Okay. I think this is a pretty important standpoint where each of you guys took on the initiative to become financially sound. But for the young Black men who are like 10, 16, 20, 21, and even within our age group, how do we go about handling finances better? And I know people say a lot of times get educated, but what does that fully mean? Yeah, what does that look like?
Yeah. I think Julian might want to hop in here. Watch.
All right. Well, it's easy and it's difficult, because there's so much information out there for people to glean from, but there's so much information out there for people to glean from.
Yep.
So like it's a double-edged sword. It's a lot of misinformation. You know, you got all these social media experts that will give you a 30-second blurb about something that has some partial truths in it. There's some great principles, but also mixed in there is some irregular ingredients that don't make a bit of sense. So, you know, but there are tried and true methods. I mean, you know, the two, when you're talking about financial literacy, that's a large landscape. What does that mean?
What does it
What
mean?
really does that mean? You know, it's not like, okay, what is a stock? What is a bond? I mean, financial literacy means, how does money work?
Yeah.
We live in a capitalist society, but very few people understand how to survive in capitalism. How to make the most, you know, if you're a fish, you got to learn how to swim in water. So if you're a capitalist, and if you're in a capitalist society, you need to learn how to take advantage of capitalism, all the aspects of it. And therein, a lot of literacy attained along the way.
Okay. So let's piggyback off of that. So Chris, you being the more newer person to the financial realm, what were some of the steps you had to take? Because you picked it up during the pandemic, correct?
Right.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a great question, Giselle. I think for me, I'll go back to what Ruben said, and Giselle mentioned this too, was to get educated, but for me, I had some great people who could educate me. So I said this before, my father. I hate the word role model, but I would say if I had to have a role model, it would be him. Now, this is somebody that, again, he's an engineer. He was an engineer back when they were making, you know, bank. And the whole time
they still making bank. What you mean?
Well, good point. So still making bank, but the way he talks, he makes more bank than what bank is made now. So I'm like, okay.
I see what you mean. The old school engineering though is that was a whole different era.
Yeah,
right,
definitely.
Right. So against somebody that, you know, where like I remember growing up, let's say that we had a sports game. He would wear the same things every time. He had a busted up 2006 Chrysler drove everywhere. I mean, he would not spend money on anybody, not even his own kids. So I said, okay, we must be, you know, not that financially sound. And, you know, what's going on? And I hate when he says this, but he sat me down one time and he said, son, if I ever pass away, I have enough money put away to feed your kids' kids. And I said, okay.
All right.
That's where we are. So he walked me through investments, what my money towards, compound interest. In college, I had no clue about that. So just the simple things that I guess you should have been taught, he taught me. And that, I guess, is what carried me through that uncertain time. Just relying on him, asking questions, getting advice, him actually showing me, hey, this is what I got. You can get this if you do that, was what got me through that whole period. Because it was rough. But without him, Lord knows, man. But again, thankful for having a wonderful father that could, again, get me through that phase.
Okay, so there was a key topic that you spoke on, Chris, and then that was smart money management, spending your money. During this time period, I know this is tax season. Yep. Everybody, if you're on the good end, you're receiving taxes. Tomorrow. Yeah, it's actually tomorrow. Yep. But if you're on the good end, you're receiving some money back. For those on the bad end, I don't know what your tax bracket is. You might be giving money back. So, like, for people who are receiving taxes, what are some of the steps that they should take towards like filing their taxes on time, filing it properly, and like making sure that they're picking the right person to file their taxes?
So I kind of want to hear Julian and Ruben's viewpoint on the, I guess, the larger scale. I want to talk to the younger college and I guess the high school kids. Again, when I was in college, I did Uber and DoorDash. I was unaware of any taxes that were, I guess, responsible for that. So I remember I made a good amount of money. I said, man, I got all this money and don't have to pay any taxes because the tax are taken out if you are a gig worker or doing that kind of job.
Yep. 1099.
Right. That 1099 comes in and tells you how much you make. And that's, you're supposed to keep track of how much you're supposed to pay. In Georgia, it's 15.3%. That's Georgia Medicaid, Social Security, all that's supposed to be taken out of those taxes. So if you do that kind of work, make sure you do quarterly payments. You can use QuickBooks. You can go right to our website, but just make sure you keep track of what you owe. It's 15 to 50% on what you make, and pay that. So you're not stuck with a big bill at the end of tax season. That's my advice for all you young kids out there who do that kind of work.
Doing the gig work. No, that's
Right,
I mean
exactly.
that's solid. I mean, I started out doing Lyft too. I caught the Lyft boom wave when it caught up. So I mean, those are gems right there.
Definitely gems. Julian, did you want to give us some of your feedback on this?
Yeah, and I'm glad that Chris segmented it from the the younger kids, because what I deal with is mostly business owners and established people, high net worth.
Yeah,
Whole
different
important. Yeah, I mean, it's important to keep good records. Number one, look for a good CPA who understands you. Like, for instance, if you're a business owner versus just a strictly W-2, you got to have a different type of CPA that understands the deductions and the credits and all that of those two different entities. But even before you pay taxes, you got to understand the tax system to the degree of, okay, how do you create tax-free income? How do you do that? Are there ways to, negate Uncle Sam for some of your revenue? And once again, by understanding the tax system, you're able to structure certain things so that, it's not a biggie. But even, if you got kids in college, there are credits you get for having kids, there's deductions you get for having kids in college. Lifetime deductions, family deductions, some of the interest on loans, all that stuff. You got to have somebody, if you don't know it, have somebody in your pocket that does know it. Those are critical, because otherwise you're giving Uncle Sam a tax-free loan. And he's just giving you some of it back. And I encourage everybody, regardless of stage, if you're getting a refund, what do you do with that refund? Do you
what are you doing with it? Yeah.
Or do you use that refund, those assets, to create other assets?
Now, Julian, I wanted to hop in real quick because I'm excited to talk about kind of the college, the business of college kids, right? So I'm a dividend investor. I want to get into investing a little bit later, but I like to invest in dividend stocks. So anything that gives me a dividend, whether it's REITs, like I love that, because I just like to know for a fact. I don't really have to worry about adjusting. I mean, obviously I still monitor the market, but I know for a fact that quarterly or biannual paycheck is coming. So anyways, as college kids though, it dawned on me that a lot of the loan companies, the corporations, are publicly traded and they're dividend stocks. So Nelnet is one of them, right? So I was getting your opinion on this because I talked to a friend of mine about it. We got into a little debate about it because we debate a lot about capitalism and just the financial systems we operate in. I said, look, man, doesn't it make sense? You're going to go to school, you're getting a refund. Why wouldn't you at least try to make your money back from the corporation that's taking your money, like with the loans and earning interest? Like, you could at least try to make the money back by investing into the same company that's taking your money, so it's kind of a way for you to get your own dividends back in a sense. So I looked up Nelnet, and there's like two other companies that are publicly traded, but I mean, they earn millions of dollars in revenue every year off of our education, so
education we need to be able to have.
What percent dividend do they pay?
You said what?
What percent dividend do they pay?
I can look it up right now.
Because here's the thing, thing about dividends is this. For long term, so you gotta, when it comes to investing, you gotta determine, am I an investor or am I a trader? That's a totally different mindset.
That's true. What's the difference, actually? What would you say the difference is?
Trading is more of a short-term expectation, where you're going to buy something, you hope it goes up, and then you're going to sell it at a profit. And if it's either going to have a short-term gain or a long-term gain, or a short-term loss or long-term loss.
Right.
But since the advent of the .com trade companies, the E-Trades, the others, here's the deal. America has transitioned from being a nation with a long-term investor thought process to everybody wants to be a trader now.
Trader.
And some of them don't know the difference. Trading is quick money and can be substantial taxes, because if you do have a short-term capital gain, that's that's not a favorable tax outcome for you.
Yeah.
It's really not. But you have to know for long-term investing, you know, the dividend investing strategy is proven because that dividend compounds on top of itself.
Yeah.
It's not
and
like
especially
it's a one-time compound. That
Mhm.
3, 4, 5% dividend, it keeps compounding because that dividend pays another dividend
Yes.
in
Yeah.
addition to your original shares that are coming in. So it's almost like having real estate where you got a tenant paying you rent.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
why I like REITs, because you're guaranteed that money is damn near guaranteed. I mean, come on, you got
It ain't guaranteed. It ain't
not
guaranteed.
nothing guaranteed.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna say that,
No.
but you know,
For instance, you take something like Altria. Altria used to be one company. It's got 72, but Altria pays like a 6% dividend. That dividend's gotten up to 8% before.
wow.
8%.
Ooh.
I mean, even Coca-Cola is paying 3%. Doesn't
Yeah.
sound like much until you extrapolate that out over 10, 12 years and see just how much
Yeah.
money they actually paid you
Yeah.
that you reinvested. That's
Yeah.
also paying that same man. That's
Yeah,
why if
especially
you
if
look
you're
at
in a
these
drip.
mountain charts that you can,
Mhm.
I wish I had one on here. I'll show you a mountain chart that shows since the Great Depression, the majority of the growth in the S&P. Well, it's not the S&P, but it's a couple of funds. It was based off of the dividend, not the change in the price of the stock, but of the dividends. The
Right.
dividends is like pouring gasoline on fire.
Yeah,
Facts.
it is.
Okay, cool. I wanted to take this moment to transition. So I know with like having these stocks, having all these different financial tools and things, this means you have to stay organized and properly track your information. I know with Ruben, you being an underwriter, you're heavy with paperwork, making sure people are turning in the proper stuff, things of that nature. What are some tips that you can give to the Black community when it comes to filing paperwork, making sure they're having their things in order, and like ways that they can go about managing that?
So it's a good question because for me, like my thought process is if I do it for a corporation, I'm gonna do it for myself. So the same effort that I put into my career, I put into my personal life. So as organized and as proactive as I'm going to be at work, bring that same attitude home pretty much. So pretty much use Excel, Word, and just pretty much it's not just me. I mean, I have a fiance and a child also, so I have to keep all records, not for all of us together and everything. And I mean, it seems simple until you need that documentation for taxes or anything like that. So it's just sticking to the basics pretty much. Just sticking to the basics, stay organized, and just have a tracking system because it seems simple until you need it.
No, that's facts. I
Okay.
mean, I use Wave Accounting for mine. Wave Accounting is really good. They're owned by H&R Block, and of course I use Excel. But I mean, those are easy tools, 101 tools that you can use to just build your budget. I first started budgeting around, I want to say junior year of college, like actually like documenting my budget versus just a notepad or something on my phone. But it takes practice. I mean, going back to what Julian said, like it really, we're not that far removed from the mindset that is not as beneficial to us. So
Yeah.
it really takes a lot of learning and unlearning as well.
Okay. So with that being said, Julian, throughout your experience, like what are some of the biggest do nots that you can tell people? Like, hey, I don't care what you got to do, just do not do this. I don't care if you go into the middle of the street, jump like a duck, quack like a duck, just don't do that.
Well, the number one would be do not spend more than you earn. That's number
You
one.
think that you think that's the the easiest thing for people to get?
Yeah, it's easy.
Man,
Your parents and your grandparents did it.
that's true.
That's
It's
true.
just like I said, it's that mindset, that consumer mindset. You got to understand, man. Most people in America, regardless of culture, have been raised in America have to be consumers.
Yeah,
and it's hard to start to deprogram and get a new look, because think about when you were a little kid watching your cartoons. In between the cartoons, there was commercials telling you to buy something.
Buy something.
Yeah.
Buy something. Now, name commercials that show you to save something? Name 4.
Right.
It's not out
Same
there.
thing.
Nothing outside
Not
of
out there.
401k commercial.
Yeah.
So,
No.
I mean, and that's delayed gratification because you got to wait till you're 59 and a half to get that 401k money. Otherwise,
Yeah.
you're going to pay some penalties, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's nothing out there that says, hey, got $1, save half of it. There's nothing out there that encourages you to do that. It's like spend, spend, spend. And even with the refund checks for the income taxes, right? Their sales. Look at their marketing that's going on. It's all towards those income tax checks that are coming in. I give you another example. Back when the first COVID checks came, they showed people in certain communities lined up at the Nike store and lined up at the Gucci store.
Man.
And they were spending. Now, at that same time, Nike stock, just like all other stock, was considerably depressed. So they could have
invested
some of that check money,
yeah,
buy those stocks, and have a dividend that would have bought them shoes every year.
Yeah.
So the number one will be don't spend more than you earn. Number two, don't mistake a loan for a gift.
That's true.
Not mistake a loan for a gift.
It's not your money.
Definitely not.
Number three would be live by this formula. Try to 60-20-20. Live off of 60% of your income. Save 20% of your income, and 20% of it is discretionary. Do whatever you want to do.
Okay. So to piggyback off of that, Chris, what are some of the things you put in place to help financially manage yourself? Because I know you said you've got into finance within the last 2 years. I know that had to be a major mindset shift of how you probably were going to plan on spending your money and managing your money, correct?
Yes, sir. And actually, to get with Brother Julian, asked a few questions about a few things. So, a little bit of context. So, I'm probably doing this the wrong way, but in about a month and some change, I'm going to Jamaica to get married. So that's an expense.
Hey, clap it up for Brother Chris.
Congratulations.
Yes.
Appreciate y'all. And then next year, I'm trying to buy a home. So, everything that comes in and comes out, I'm keeping track of. I mean, the Hulu bill, that's $8 a month. I'm keeping track of that. Any expense that it comes out with a thing, I'm keeping track of that. Because, weddings are, surprise, not cheap. Buying a home, especially now, is not cheap. And next year, I hope that will change. But just based upon current trends, I don't know. But we'll see. So, again, go back to everybody saying here, I use Excel. Again, tracking everything that comes in and comes out, just so I can make sure that I'm in the better spot for 2025. And we'll see after May how I'm looking. But I think as of right now, based upon everything I'm tracking, I'm in a good spot. So again, keep a track of stuff.
Is he doing it right, Julian? Did he get it? Did he hit
Probably
the
not.
There is no right or wrong. That's what's right for you. You know. But one thing I would throw a question out there. You going to Jamaica? Is it going to be just you and your fiance, or y'all taking a party of people with you?
No, so it's me, my fiance, and our family. We're keeping it small. We're not trying to break the bank. We're keeping this, intimate. Yep.
Okay. So you're going to have a registry for people to give you gifts and whatnot?
We thought about that, but it's like we feel kind of guilty. Okay, we're not inviting people because it's family. How can we ask you for a gift if what I'm saying? Right. It just feels wrong. But there's definitely pride. But
I'm gonna throw this out there to you. Have a small reception when you come back.
Okay.
And in lieu of gifts, ask for money donations for the down payment on your house.
Okay.
Dropping the game.
All right.
Yeah. Host a little dinner or small reception. I like that.
Yeah. I mean, that'd be cheap.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Sorry. Okay, so whilst Julian's taking that pause, as you guys got deeper into finance, did you guys start investing? Did you guys get into real estate? How did you guys start to use your money? And at what point did you feel okay, I have $10,000 saved up. Now it's safe enough for me to start investing or doing things of that nature?
and more specifically, Giselle, like what asset class would you
Good point.
prefer, or which one did you kind of lean into more? You know, we all have our preferences, but yeah, what asset?
To your money in a savings or a checking account at the bank or a CD, you are going broke slowly. I'm gonna
Yep.
give you. Here's the deal: banks are paying anywhere from 0.01 to 0.05%.
Mm-hmm.
Inflation is what, three point something.
We're gonna talk about inflation. We're gonna talk about inflation.
Yeah. So you got a negative return from that.
Yeah.
Now the bank turns around and loans your money out at
Flips it.
7%.
Yep.
So
Ridiculous.
there are other places. See, safe money is not going to give you a double-digit return. It's safe money.
That's just
But
safe
you
money.
can utilize for that safe money things like high accounts. Some are paying 4.5%, which is a whole lot better than 0.04%.
That's 10 times as much, I believe.
And there's no risk. It's still safe money. So you, like I said, this is part of that journey into capitalism, that journey into diversity. You know, one thing to have I've heard of people, I won't call names, but I've heard of people who have cash, 6 figures of cash sitting in a safe deposit box.
Oh nah.
Real story. And they just like to come in there and count it.
What?
They come in there and count it.
Hey.
Little do they know that it's actually it's less value than it was the last time they counted. That's crazy.
Care. You know how they say ignorance is bliss?
Yeah.
Well, those people are very blissful.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's true.
But that's some true stuff.
I may interject too, right? What we're talking about, all these gems, sometimes there could be an access barrier or a knowledge barrier, even with your significant other, right?
Yeah.
Your wife. And so, like, I mean, it's something that I'm even dealing with in my friend groups. It's sometimes it's sad. I can't even have certain conversations with friends anymore just because of the knowledge that I've gained and the things that I've unlearned. And it kind of gets even more complicated with someone you love and care, your significant other, your wife, your fiance, whomever. How did you all kind of manage being on the same page? You know, maybe one of you came for a slightly more affluent family than the other, or was there like a learning there, like that you had to say, hey, look, like this is actually how we get from point A to point B. How did you kind of close that gap just among your, inner circles?
I don't want to dumb it. I got a story, but I'll let these other guys interject.
Chris want to talk about. He don't want to say nothing because he don't want to say nothing.
Oh yeah, the wedding is pending. Okay,
right.
I would say this: the proof is in the pudding when it comes to your significant other.
Right.
Very good friend of mine. He told me that once he showed his wife how to pay cash for cars, he never had a problem with her after that. He showed her how they were putting away money into a mutual fund, just a mutual fund, and they did it for like years. And then they went to the car dealership, paid cash. She was on board after that. She saw him stroke that check. She was like, "Oh,
yeah."
And so, a lot of times, you're right. People come from different backgrounds when it comes to respect or disrespect of money, or knowledge of money. Ending that, it's like plugging a ball and chain when you're trying to get somebody on board the financial train. It's hard because they may still want to buy their Louis, their red bottoms, their Gucci. They still may want to do that because their value is based off of that. You got to help them to reset their value system so that then you become more equally yoked. Because two incomes, two sets is always better. Working together anyway.
Yeah. Ask me that
All right.
question in about 2 years, and I got y'all. So I
All
can't
right.
answer right now, but 2 years I'll answer that question.
Hey, look.
Okay, I guess Ruben, you got to be
Ruben, you
the
got him on.
you
Yeah.
got to be the tiebreaker, man.
Say for me, it's pretty much goes back to education, and pretty much the proof is in the pudding. I pretty much with my fiance, like, we're very open about finances and stuff, and I was fortunate enough to have a good mentor at the beginning about 401ks and what to do. So at 18, I was investing in my 401k, and I was at Home Depot at the time. I was doing the employee purchase stock plan, purchase back plan, and I had no idea what that was, but my uncle told me to do it, so I did it. And years later, I mean, the stock blew up, and I got a check, which I regret that I cashed the check because they took a bunch of taxes, which I didn't know about. But that's part of the growing pains. You learn it, and now you know, like, all right, don't do that again. But I saw how the system works, so we have discussions like that all the time, and she's on board but you have to have something to show for it to kind of teach them slowly, because you can't change someone's anything all at one time. So it's all about education and just teaching and learning at the same time.
No, that's
I mean, you're on point with that, because I've got a client who had from her company had the stock employee stock in, and we actually use that. We leverage. See, a lot of people don't know you can leverage those. You can margin it. You don't ever have to sell it. And we ended up refinancing. She had 6 properties that had some interest only loans on them. We ended up refinancing by margining those stocks that she had of that company. The stock pays a dividend too. So now you're having that dividend of taking it or reinvesting it. You're having that service in the loan for the refi. Without touching.
Talk to them.
See, that's the one thing when it comes to that literacy again.
Yeah.
Learning how to use margin and learning how to leverage. That's what wealthy people do. They spend OPM, other people's money. They don't spend their money.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I think this is something we got to define a little bit more, right, Julian? When we say spend other people's money, we're not saying spend other people's money to try to go get Jordans or anything like that. So spend people's money, what do you fully mean by spend other people's money?
I mean, by using leverage, you use your assets or to when I say margin or leverage, that means taking out a loan. You take out loans against your assets to accumulate other revenue generating assets, not consumer assets. So now if I use like if I leverage some stocks to go and either put down a down payment on a rental property or to just buy the rental property, depending on what my capacity is. Now I've just used one asset to get another asset. And then that new asset is generating income and revenue that I can use to pay off the loan for other people's money. I'm using other people's money to pay off this thing that I leverage with other people's money.
Yeah, you're completely separating yourself. And Giselle, you also mentioned, I think you're part of an employee purchase program yourself, right?
So actually, Ruben mentioned that he's a part of the Home Depot stock purchase program back in the day. I'm currently at Home Depot. They give us 15% discount. I put $100 away per paycheck towards that, on top of me getting paid out company dividend stock. And I mean, the biggest thing I learned that this is a vehicle to help me make more down the line, because now next year when I'm ready to purchase my home, I'm not looking at what I have to spend cash wise. I'm going straight to my Home Depot stock. I'm just like, what can I use here to leverage to get this? And especially a 15%, Julian will attest to this, is probably one of the greatest returns you can get right off.
I can't get, I can't do that consistently. But also that stock is on your balance sheet, so you look real sexy to the bank when you try to get a loan. It is an asset that you list because you own it.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
That's when I, things like that, when I'm talking about your personal balance sheet. People need to be aware. Just like a business, you are a business.
You are.
You have a income statement. You have a balance sheet. You have all the same things.
Yeah, same ingredients.
Business does.
Yeah, there was a gem that I got from a mentorship program. I haven't implemented it yet. I'm still still testing the waters, but they were saying to create an LLC and name it after yourself. So like first name, last name, LLC, and then now attach your business account to your paycheck. Or say you're a W-2 earner, right? Attach your business account to your paycheck. Attach all these things to that LLC, first name, last name, LLC, and now you can leverage all these business write-offs. And now you driving to work can turn into some sort of write-off. And so it was a very interesting concept. I haven't implemented it yet, but it's a very interesting concept when you think about it.
So is that legal to actually do that, Julian?
Right.
I would say make sure you talk. See, I don't give tax advice. Make sure a CPA.
Yeah, exactly.
Because all that glitters is not gold.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, that's outside of my realm of recommendations. Talk to a CPA about that.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That's facts.
Okay.
Now,
I'll say,
Ruben
go ahead.
Well, I know you're talking about leveraging our assets and everything.
Yeah.
And one of the best things that I would say I did early in my career was the 401k.
Yeah.
I know different people feel differently about 401ks depending on your asset class and what your background is, what you can do for it. But for me, the 401k worked out real well because I started at 18, and pretty much I didn't know much about it. I just did it just because I was told to do it by my family, and then over time you accumulate a good amount of money in there.
Mm-hmm.
But you can take a loan from your 401k pretty much, and you can leverage it how you want. And if you think about it, you're gonna pay interest on it. Like you'll pay about a 9% interest on it. But if you hard money loan, you're gonna pay 9% interest anyway. So in that sense, you're paying 9% interest to somebody else, 9% interest to yourself, and you could take up to $50,000 twice a year or so from it. So it's kind of like a way to leverage your own money pretty much, and just having that available to you instead of having to go to somebody else, apply, and try to figure out if you can get the money or not, pretty much.
And I pulled the same move with my life insurance policy. So I'm not a life insurance expert, but I got the game from my agents. It's two Black brothers here. They're Nigerian American, and they have a life insurance company together. And they helped me purchase the home I'm in now. So I took out a loan against my policy to help bolster my my cash to bring to the closing table. And I actually ended up getting a check back at the closing table. So guess where that money went to? Went back to paying my loan back, paying myself back. So it was all kind of just full circle moment to like I actually applied, going back to what Julian said, like those learning curves and closing the gaps. Like I applied knowledge that was given to me, and it's kind of refreshing to see like you can actually drop these gems on yourself.
Yeah, that's real stuff. You wouldn't be surprised to know, but some of the other guys, or people listening, may be surprised to know. Walt Disney started Disneyland using the money inside his life insurance policy.
I mean, yeah, man,
smart man.
The Pampered Chef was started the same way.
Mm-hmm.
And J.C. Penney saved his company during the Great Depression using money inside of his life insurance policy.
Yeah, I mean,
it's one of the most in our culture, in our community, the versatility of using life insurance is. It's almost like a secret.
Very much so.
In our community, we think of life insurance as being somebody gets some money when somebody dies.
When somebody dies, but it's called life insurance.
The correct way. Structured the right way. It is the most versatile financial tool. It is not an investment. It's a financial tool, but it's the most versatile tool out there right now. Just got to know how to use it.
Okay.
Totally agree.
So for me, I know I have life insurance, but I don't know what kind of life insurance you guys are particularly. I've heard about it. Like, is it a whole life insurance?
There's different types.
Okay,
it's a lot of types.
Yeah, it's a lot of types. Julian, you want to take this one?
Well, it's a lot of types. It just depends on what you need and what are your goals. What are you? At the end of the day, life insurance, regardless of what type it is for a death benefit. But some of the life insurance policies have living benefits that you can use during your lifetime. And there's different ways, like a person who's got real estate, a lot of real estate, a lot of times they'll put, or just a business owner who's, doing estate planning, and their kids are going to have significant tax to pay upon their death. You use a life insurance policy to handle the taxes on that because it can be tax free. I've seen policies that are like, say if a guy wants to pay $500,000 a year for a policy. Well, he can come out of pocket for that if he's able to, but you can also do what's called premium financing. Y'all gonna like this. This is where you take a loan.
Paid off. That's wild.
It's versatile, man. I'm telling you, it's crazy.
Wow.
That's
So I have
wild.
a question actually. Which company would you recommend going with for this life insurance policy? Particularly?
It depends. It obviously, it's not cookie cutter. Everything is situational.
Mm.
And see, the premium financing, that's for high net worth. That's for people who have net worth of at least $3 million or more. At least.
Because you can just take a loan
now.
for
But then for guys, I mean, I just talked to a guy who's got, well, he's got about 3 million, but not the $50 million guys, but there's ways. I was talking, my nephew has several properties, and he and I were talking yesterday about how to do the same thing, a similar thing, not the same, but it's basically, it's an annual, but you cash flow it a different way. Still through a loan, but it's not premium financing. This is different. You don't have the time to go into that, but like I said, to answer your question, Chris, it's situational, and that's why you have to just sit down with someone and talk and see just what's best for you and your family and your goals.
Right. Now, Chris, two things. I think Austin just mentioned it, but Austin used to run with life insurance agents, the same guys I told you about. We were all in community together. Out of that, I actually got working on my silent partner license. I'm gonna definitely talk to you. Taking my test suit, I'll definitely give you the information I have, and Austin also has references as well. We could definitely chat about that.
Oh yeah, man, we're getting on that money train.
Yeah. Little known fact, man. You know, everybody got something, but we got like maybe two more things we want to touch on, right? Because I want to really touch on this inflation, to talk about some trends.
Yeah, most
we'll round it off with our philosophy. So let's I'm gonna share my screen real quick. Now this is where we want to get a bit interactive. Now let me know if y'all can see my screen. Do you see the inflation rate here?
We got you. Yep.
Okay. So I just wanted to kind of, let me zoom in real quick. I wanted to open up a discussion just to reflect, right? We're in between a lot of different generations, and I love the fact that we can have a sort of an intergenerational conversation, right? Just about what we've seen, especially post-pandemic, pre-pandemic. We can go as far back as pre-9/11. I mean, I still remember 9/11. I remember what the economy, I remember looking back now, like how the economy was, just thinking about how cheap gas used to be when $5 can get you somewhere, and now $5 can't get you nowhere. Like, so I just wanted to go through this graph, right? This graph shows the inflation trends from 1960 all the way to 2024. Now, if you don't mind me asking, Julian, I wanted to kind of start around this area. Where is this? This is around the 80s, I believe. Hold on. Yeah, this is around the 80s. I wanted to start around this era and work our way up to the 2000s, right? So if you are able to explain how in the world was inflation reaching a peak higher than the pandemic, which you can see here, right? So about this is according to Macro Trends, by the way. This is the source I'm looking at. But we're around 2022 with a higher peak in the 80s. Now, I don't know what was going on in the 80s.
There was a lot of things going on in the 80s.
I know now, just looking at history, but you know, from someone who has lived it more than we have, how can you speak to what the experience was and how it affected the economy at the time?
Back in the 80s, well, you know, back in 1980, you all would be surprised to learn that interest rates for a home mortgage was like 18 or 20%, and people still bought them to houses too.
Stop playing.
I know somebody personally who paid 18% and had great credit too. 18%. That was the going rate. You know, I forgot. You know, I don't remember what the drivers were back then, but it's all relative because, you know, the thing that's different between then and now is
Right.
the supply and demand. It's the supply of housing back then was a lot greater. So the price of the house was lower. Even
Yeah.
though the interest rates were higher, the price was lower. Now you got the interest rate high and you've got
And
the
the price is high.
because
Right.
after the Great Recession, see, a lot of home builders in 2008, a lot of home builders went out of business. People were in the middle of building houses, and the contractors walked off the job all
Let's
over the
go
nation.
to 08 right here.
So
There's a dip.
A lot of people,
There's a dip
a lot
right
of
here.
a lot of the home builders started building fewer houses after the recession. So at
Gotcha.
the same time, all the millennials started coming to age. So now
Yeah.
you got this flood of millennials at the age they want to buy houses. Then you
Mhm.
got COVID thrown into the mix where the supply chain was disrupted.
Yep.
So right now what you have is high demand and low supply and high interest rates. Whoo.
Boom.
But people are still spending more money than they have. That's why the inflation is so high.
Yep. It's just a lot of different factors because you mentioned spending, you mentioned supply, you mentioned demand. All of those things just help contribute to a less fortunate situation.
Wait, real quick question.
Yeah.
So I know this is something that people have been saying that they don't see this coming down anytime soon. How true is that?
Based on your
interest rates? Or
interest
inflation?
rates, cost of housing, just everything right
And
now.
all three of y'all can answer this. I know y'all have the industry perspective. At least give your speculation.
So actually, I'll add to what Julian was saying too about the supply issue. So it's also, so if somebody bought a house during the pandemic, they probably got the rate at 2 or 3%. So if they were to sell their home and get another one, they would lock in a higher interest rate. So why would they do that? They're just going to keep what they have and stay there until perpetuity, unless they have to move for a job, a family emergency issue, death in the family. They're going to stay put in that home. So that's going to further convolute the issue of supply. And on to that again, even I think it was post 2021, the cost of the building materials was also up. So
it went up.
Again, so you can't build. It's going to cost even more to build the home. So again, doing this thing, all that's going to factor into the supply, and that's kind of where we are now. And to answer your question, Ben, honestly, nobody can really know for a fact. It's all going to be an educated guess. So we can say, okay, well, in 3 months, it may go down. It may go down, but will it go down? Who knows, man? I couldn't tell you. So we're all just waiting to find out together, type of thing.
And it shot up right. My realtor told me, I think about within 3 to 6 months after I closed. So I closed in 2022, March. So that's Q1, right at the end of Q1 in March. It was within like a couple of weeks. He was like, yeah, interest rates went crazy. So, and I remember being delayed. I got a new construction. I remember being delayed because of lumber was a huge thing. My doors couldn't get built. My windows, no lumber, man.
It was on a bar.
I know.
It was on a bar between here and China. Because what's one of the things, Steve? One thing that attributed to this whole situation is also everything was centralized in China as far as supply. Well, that was the epicenter of COVID virus too. So what you're finding now is that a lot of these major corporations, they are going to look at decentralizing production. Like they may have stuff in India, they may have stuff in China, stuff in South America. You're going to see that happening. It's happening now. There will never be another global shutdown because of production coming out of one spot. You remember the semiconductors for the cars? They were hard to get. That's why you got a car that normally was, $25,000, it was $40,000, and you couldn't get them because the chips were not in them to run them. But when it comes to the inflation thing, the Fed only has a few weapons to use, and interest rates and the supply of money. See, the Fed takes money into circulation and out of circulation to control interest rates and all that and spending. The problem is people are just going. See, during COVID, people saved up a lot of money. And then after COVID, the people pent up. They had all of that pent up need to do stuff. So all of a sudden they start spending. Inflation goes up. Plus they printed all that money anyway. And so now people are running low on that money, but they're still spending. They're still spending.
Spending it's not slowed down. It hasn't slowed down. It's crazy.
So where are these people getting this money from? That's interesting.
PPP
MasterCard,
loans?
Visa, and American Express.
Hey, the PPP loans, man.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm praying for them, man. I hope y'all
Right.
for real. Ruben, you
Yeah,
had
it's gonna hit a headway soon, and see all of the data that you get out of the CPI reports and all these economic data. Y'all gotta understand that's trailing data. That data is 4 to 5 months old. It's looking backwards to
Right.
forecast coming
what's coming next.
forward.
Yeah.
So by the time you're like with recessions, by the time you have to declare a recession, you're out of it because it's trailing data.
Mm.
That's very true.
So are we technically in a recession right now?
No,
Okay. But we're in a financial
but
hardship.
we don't know what we're in right now because
That's-
the data's
that's-
trailing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're not gonna know for another
Not
4
really,
to
no.
5 months.
Another quarter. or
But
two.
then we're in a whole
Another
different
quarter.
spot at that time.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm.
Exactly. Right.
Quarter or two.
That's why it's
Ruben-
best to have a diversified portfolio because
Correct.
it's built to withstand all of the cycles of the economy.
Right.
Mm.
That's true. Ruben, you want to hop in?
I really don't see it going down no time soon, at least. It's rare that you see anything go down after it's going up,
Right.
unless it's obsolete. And I don't see houses ever becoming obsolete, pretty much. Like you do see in the Atlanta area, a lot of homes are being built to kind of accommodate. But then the other part is a lot of corporations are buying the houses and building the communities that way. So corporations have an endless pockets and regular human beings don't. So that's always until that problem's fixed, like the prices really aren't going to go down at all because it's artificially inflated at this point, but it's just not good for the average everyday person pretty much.
But I think that one thing that may be an added component to this whole equation is the prefab homes that are being built in factories. Because that could be a game changer. There's one major company out in California. They're planning to build one in, I think, southern Georgia or North Florida, and another one in the Midwest, because they want to have centralized locations for manufacture around the clock. All they need is somebody to clear the land and put a foundation. Then they can ship it via rail or on the highway.
Or on the highway.
And get those houses built. And they've got another, I mean, I've seen some. They're not that bad.
Crazy.
That may be something coming on down the pipeline.
No, I feel that.
Hey.
Prefab home. I mean, the tiny homes is already becoming a trend.
Yeah.
I've seen a couple of tiny home communities in the metro Atlanta area.
Yeah.
But prefab. So would prefab homes be, I guess, as big as a townhouse, or would they kind of be like that small?
They could be 3, 4, 500,000 square foot homes.
Sheesh.
Yeah. They've
crazy.
come a long way, and the quality.
Dang.
Some people say that because it's made in a factory with machines, the tolerances and the measurements are more exact.
Way more
if you
exact.
build it from the ground up.
Yeah,
Because when
true.
you buy a house that's built by hand, man, before they paint over everything and caulk everything, you don't know what kind of mistakes they made up in there. You don't know until you.
I can attest to that.
Yeah, nail pops.
Yeah, the nail pop, especially because it takes up to like a year or so, for the house to settle. That's what they were teaching me. Like, I had my warranty ran out about a year change. And then I got one more free walkthrough. They came through, did some touch ups, painting, but I'm still seeing nail pops. I'm still seeing like stuff out of place. Yeah, my doors. Sometimes it'll open and close properly. Sometimes it won't. Just depend on the weather. Because the wood is
they use screws instead of nails. So if you get a house that they use screws instead of nails, you don't have to worry about nails. Screws don't unscrew. It costs more to build that house.
Right.
And think about it. Once they get to economy of scale on the prefab, and the cost per unit goes down.
Then it's a wrap.
You're going to be able to add in the extra screws to have a more sturdy constructed house.
Yeah, the nails.
Than if you did it the old way. And now, think about this. And one of you touched on the point that the corporations are buying up all the housing. And if you're a contractor, who are you going to work for? Are you going to work for Benjamin? Or are you going to work for BlackRock, who's going to stroke you a check to build 300 houses?
Right.
So the average, if you got the loan, the credit, the big boys, the more established contractors are going to be going and working for the big companies because they get the big check.
Mhm.
That's why I think the prefabs have a lot of potential.
Yeah.
Prefab, man. That's what.
Hey.
You buy your house on Amazon, man. I
Hey,
can see
custom
it
make
now.
it.
Yeah,
Go on the
you actually can.
webpage.
You-
I don't know if I go that route.
I can see it now.
No, it's got to be something
Yeah.
else. It's got to be a facility that just specializes in that. And I'm buying direct. I've got warranties.
Right.
Right.
I've got guarantees. I've got a contract. So
Mhm.
now all I got to do is get somebody to lay my foundation, do my plumbing and electrical, pop that bad boy on there, and you can
Yep.
build it faster because it's not weather dependent.
Exactly.
So you can build it, ship it,
Yeesh,
have
man.
it
That is.
installed.
Hey,
and
supply
move in.
chain about to be
I
different.
might have to switch to real estate, man.
Hey,
Look,
I might have to switch, or I mean, I might just switch
Do it on
into
the side.
construction. We were just talking about construction, because I mean, me and Giselle both work as engineers. I work in aerospace, but you're kind of close to it. Only
Oh,
Home Depot's,
Hey,
they
we talk about this all day.
they're right around so
This
I'm,
is a good time for Home Depot.
I'm gonna have to switch to Caterpillar or something. See what they're doing. Like,
Hey,
might have to switch around.
okay, so I guess we can just ask one final question to
Mhm.
wrap it up.
Yeah.
If you guys had to leave one form of advice to a younger Black man in today's financial state on how they should transverse finance moving forward, what would that be?
Or just a money philosophy, man.
Yeah.
Like that, I think that's the best way to put it. Julian, of course, you having the most wisdom. You dropped a lot of philosophies. Like what are those philosophies that we can live by?
I would have gave one. Don't spend more than you earn.
Mhm.
When it comes to, I will give you another one because I touched on it earlier.
Mhm.
Number one, save money as young as possible, as early as possible. Those of you that have children, if you own your own business,
Mhm.
you can actually hire your child and start putting money away for them in like a Roth IRA
Mhm.
because you give them an income.
Mhm.
Also, when it comes to the insurance, buy as much as you can, as young as you can, because today you're never going to be in better shape than you are right now. Never. Unless you start on some serious training. So,
Right.
It's cheaper and you can get it, but if it's properly structured. But I believe in a three-headed monster. I believe in having a proper amount of securities investments, life insurance, and either real estate or some other type of income generating extra stream of income. Now, because we got Chris who's engaged, and I think Ruben's engaged too, it sounds like it, I'm going to give this one too. And I tell a lot of my young clients who are on the verge of getting married, I say, listen, if you're already staying in separate dwellings, when you get married, the only thing that's going to change is one person's not going to be paying rent. Take that money paying rent. Whoever makes the most money, live off of that for 5 years. The person who is making the least amount of money, invest 80% of it for 5 years. Then start living off of both. Now, think about taking $30,000 and investing it for 5 years. That's $150, right?
Jesus.
Now, at your 20th anniversary, just with regular compounding, imagine how much money that $150. I'm not saying don't add anything. Add whatever you want to after that 5th year. But $150,000 compounding for 20 years? Yeah.
Your kids looking good. Your kids looking good.
Hey man, Ruben and Chris, y'all got some conversations to have, boy. Y'all got some.
Come on.
That trip to Jamaica might get canceled, boy.
Chris is like that 10K. You
Hold
can
on.
put it over here.
Hold on.
Show them the numbers. Just
Wow.
run the numbers.
Run the numbers.
Show them the numbers and say,
Right.
hey, this is when you look at it, let's say if you only start after the 5th year, only put $5,000 a year into it.
That's crazy.
Man, it's game changing. Man. And then y'all already know, I touched on before, along the way, you can leverage it, you can margin it, just don't spend it.
Right.
Just saying.
Bars.
Man, Chris, Ruben, what y'all got?
Do y'all even want to follow up?
I'm not trying to follow that one, man. That's tough.
Hey, Julian, you dropped the mic. We like to say appreciate all y'all for joining the call, helping us out. Chris, Ruben. Shout out to you, Big Dog Julian. You came in, clean house.
Absolutely, man.
We appreciate it all,
Hey, this was
man.
fun, man.
Thanks for talking money, for real.
Yeah, I'm about to be watching this over.
This is-
Taking my notes. After
Taking
this
notes.
one.
Yeah, this is one of many. So, but real quick, where can we find y'all? Obviously, you stated your roles and positions, but like, where can we find y'all? And if someone wanted to petition your services, how could they contact you? Chris, you want to go? Yeah, go.
Oh yeah,
Chris.
sure. So find me on LinkedIn. Christopher Reed. I work for Pritchett Ball and Wise. You can also shoot me an email at Christopher@Pritchett Appraisal. It's spelled PRITCHETT appraisal.com. Hit me up, and I'll make sure I give you the best commercial appraisal you've ever had.
Sounds good. And we'll put contacts in the link when we publish. So
Perfect.
yeah, go ahead, Ruben. What you got, man? How can we get in contact?
For me, I'm also on LinkedIn at Ruben Jennings, and pretty much my emails rubenj6@gmail.com. So want to reach out to me, feel free.
Got you, man.
Got you.
All right, you guys can reach me. I'm on Instagram at Pouncy. I'm on LinkedIn at Julian Pouncy, and that's Pouncy. My website is julianpouncy.nm.com. You could also drop me a text or a call at 678-571-4883.
There you go. Yeah,
Okay.
better take notes, man.
All right.
Money.
Well, again, thanks for coming to Money Talks. Another episode of Real Talk, man. So excited for this to drop. Excited for the people to know, man. Just hear all these gems and wisdom.
Most definitely. I'm excited.
We'll see y'all next time, man. Take us out.
Take care, guys.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.